afternoon, Quilt Roadies. How are you? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I am working on the HQ Sweet 16. This is a quilt for my oldest son's birthday, and I need to get it done this week because his birthday's this week. Deadlines amuse me. Deadlines amuse me. That sign is over there on the bookcase. Well, let me just say that I work best under pressure. Maybe that's why screaming women in labor or the intensity of the OR was just cake for me. I loved my job. And I remember in a particular emergency, I was in the NICU, because I did NICU for a while, which is neonatal intensive care. And I remember the neonatologist and I were like over the little heated bed, and he looked at me and he says, "You just love this, don't you?" Yes, I do. I do. What can I say? This particular quilt that I'm working on is a Laura Heine pattern. And if you don't know who she is, I'll put a link down below. She is in Montana, and it's like an intensive collage. Intensive collage. And I have gotten it to the point where I am satisfied with it. I am not as intensive about the collage part as she is as the designer. I started changing the whole pattern, in fact, because I knew I was making it for my son, and as I was working on it, I said, well, this has got to reflect some of him in here. And so once I switched that mindset, I have been having a blast with it. I have been having a blast. And I will show you a full completed shot of it when I get it done. But all I'm doing now is I have layered it with fusible Hobbs 80/20, a chunk of fusible batting that I had, a backing that I got from the So Yeah brothers, and I'm just quilting it in a grid, just a plain grid, because that, when I went to market, I really looked closely at Laura's booth and her samples, and they are very densely quilted a lot of times in a type of grid, and that is because you have a million little pieces fused in a collage type pattern, and you want it, even though it's stuck on there, you just kind of want to hold it. It's not going to be a laundered quilt, but you just want to keep it tight on there. And no, I am not gridding it with a marker and a ruler. I am eyeballing it because the water under the ocean is moving, and it's not meant to be like a cyclone fence. So that's what I'm up to today. It took me forever. Before you start quilting any quilt, you have to make sure your tensions are good, that everything's in working order, and it took me forever to get the tension correct because of this little tiny screw on the bobbin. And finally I said, my fingers and wrist and hands were just cramped from trying to do this, and so I thought, oh, I can use a magnet from the back of a needle minder that is a cross-stitch accoutrement to hold that screw into place while I screw it, and it worked. I tell you, when it comes to stitching or quilting, we are ingenious, we are creative, and we are problem solvers. My shirt says, if life gives you scraps, make a quilt. Yeah. And I get some of my fun shirts right off of Facebook. Once you buy one shirt that kind of sparks your laughter, then that's all the commercials that you get. So, yeah, so that's, I'm making scraps right now. I have a giveaway for you. The Fat Quarter Shop is doing a mystery quilt along. They're doing a stitch along and a quilt along. On this particular channel, Quilt Roadies, I'm giving away, or Fat Quarter is passing on to the viewers of Quilt Roadies, a $35 gift card for the Fat Quarter Shop. And what you need to do, of course, goes without saying, please be a subscriber of Quilt Roadies. And please go check out and subscribe to the Fat Quarter Shop. You're going to want to go look at this mystery quilt along because it's called All the Trimmings. Let me just double check that. I'm going to double check that so that I don't make a mistake. Let's see. All the Trimmings. And the reason you're going to want to go to the Fat Quarter Shop not only is to sign, this is a free PDF mystery download, but naturally they're going to have opportunity to purchase fabrics that they've chosen for this particular project or any other product that they have. Please sign up for their website. And the key word for this is going to be trimmings. So you want to go to the Fat Quarter Shop and make sure you spell trimmings right, because that's the word I'm going to be looking for on the random comment generator. And then also sign up as a subscriber on the Quilt Roadie channel. It's so lovely that they're doing this, and it's so generous of them. And yes, it is a way to bring more people into the quilting tribe, but yeah, that's what we want. And I obviously need to start posting more of my quilting life, because I had someone on a picture I posted for a cross stitch that I was doing, ask me if I was still quilting. Oh my gosh, I was like, oh, I must not be sharing my quilting life as much. And sure enough, it did seem a little bit unbalanced. So I'm going to be changing that a little bit, getting a little more quilting on my Instagram and Facebook. I have been quilting. It's just been totally focused. I've been so focused in here. And cross stitch right now is a more relaxing endeavor because I don't have any deadlines. Although deadlines amuse me. So I have been working on this all the last 3 days, getting it to the point where I'm happy with it. And then I layered it today and I've started quilting it. And I'm going to face it. And you can go back and Google Quilt Roadies facing a quilt. And I have a step-by-step how I face a quilt instead of putting a binding on it. Because I really, I just want it kind of has that little bit modern look, and I don't want to add, binding adds a little bit more of a traditional look to it. And so I'm going to face this quilt. The other thing that I have decided to do is let me just get this and show it to you. So, you know, there's this whole, the whole drama, the Beehive drama with my table runner. I also don't want to add a binding to this, and it is a more of a homespun look, but she doesn't have a binding on the pattern, and I'm thinking the binding's not going to add anything. If I use a black binding, it's going to be, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, it's all personal preference. But what I decided to do, and I'm going to see if I can pull it off, is I'm going to envelope it. That means I'm going to sew the back. I'm going to put the batting on the back of this. I'm going to put the backing right sides together on the front. And then I'm going to turn it inside out like a pillow. And then quilt it. Wish me luck. I just thought, oh, that'll solve all my issues of not having to face this, but to just envelope it. It's small enough to do that. So that's my plan for the table runner. I did get some pin cushions made. I stuffed some of them. My salvage pin cushions. They're so cute. So I have been working here in the Beehive. I really have. The next quilt that I'm going to be cutting out, yes, no, I have not left on my quilt retreat. It is actually next week, but we just have such a busy time right now. Our house is going to be painted. The outside of our house will be painted they start pressure washing tomorrow. So, you know, it's just kind of like a chaotic few days. But I have to have, you know, I need to have some plans. So this is the next quilt that I want to piece together. And so I'm going to cut this out over the weekend and get it all ready to take to retreat next week. It's for my grandson. His birthday is coming up, my youngest one. It's a sweet little Leo quilt. Just so sweet. And I got this kit at the Quilt House in Gardnerville, Nevada. If you want to go back and look at that video where I videoed the shop, it was yummy, yummy, yummy. Yummy. But that's going to be the next one that I cut out and prep for sewing. Now, I came up with this fabulous idea, and I ran it by Pocket Robin. I don't want to take, you know, it's, you know, when you pack for a retreat, it's, not only is it kind of a crazy thing, trying to figure out what you want to do, how many days you want to do it, and then it turned out that the retreat was 2 days longer than I thought it was. Don't ask me how I could have gotten it wrong by 2 days, but I did. I got it wrong by 2 days, which means that I have a lot more opportunity to do things. So I'm like reevaluating, but at the same time, you know, when we go down, we don't know exactly how we're all going to fit all our machines, our tables. We all bring our own sewing chairs. Yes, we do. We found out years ago that sewing 8 hours in a dining room chair was not going to work, that you really need your sewing chair. So there's all this stuff. We have to bring extra tables. Am I whining? Cutting mats, ironing boards. And I thought, you know, I know I said this before, I just want to relax and stitch, hear conversation, enjoy. And so I said to Pocket Robin, my girlfriend, I know that you're bringing handwork. So how about no pressure, but when you're feeling like you want to do handwork, maybe I'll just sew on your machine, and then I don't have to bring a machine. I don't have to bring a chair, because you know, I'm going to be driving three plus hours to get there. You know, my car's going to be packed. I'm going to be staying at her house initially. We have to load her stuff in my car, so I was like, oh my gosh. And I know that she'll be a power sewer. And she said, perfect. That works perfect. So that's why I'm not taking my machine. I'm not taking a whole bunch of machine sewing stuff, but I'm going to cut this out and have it all ready, because when I get a chance, over the days of retreat that I get to sew on a sewing machine, I'm going to use hers. Is whenever she gets up from her machine, I'm going to like swoop in there. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to having that flexibility. I did buy this magazine. Now, I don't normally buy quilting magazines. I have so many. I stopped all the subscriptions that I had because we were literally changing our address. It seemed like every other day. And that whole thing is crazy making when you do that. So I gave up all my magazine subscriptions, and so I haven't really had any, but I was at a store that had a lot of quilting magazines, and I picked up, I flipped through this one and thought, oh, I think I'm going to get that one. So I bought this American patchwork and quilting, and I know many of you have the same the same rule for yourself, that you're not going to buy a magazine unless you see 2 or 3 projects in it. But, and I did. I mean, this little Halloween project with I have lots of Halloween fabric, and to have it, all those 2-inch square or 2.5-inch squares, and then I was totally intrigued by this. And I know, I have said it on a previous Quilt Roadies video. You should never say never. That's the bottom line, is you should never say never. But I said the only type of quilting I do not do is paper piecing. I don't do paper piecing. Yeah, I don't do paper piecing. I don't understand it. But I was so intrigued by this particular pattern. And it's paper pieced. It's called Handmade Hexies, as if I don't have enough hexies. But these are like a combination of hexie and log cabin. So look at that quilt, that table runner. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool looking. I mean, here's another picture of it. And I have whole boxes. I have boxes of Civil War fabrics, which are reproduction fabrics that were made during that era of time. And they have a real prim and kind of an antique feel. And I just have a ton of scraps because back in the day, like pre-COVID, let's see, 1, to 3 moves ago, I guess I could say 3 moves ago, there were some girlfriends, Cakers, I think Sandy, who's in Madras, maybe Anne. We were all making scrap Civil War quilts. And so I have a lot of scraps, and I thought, oh, that would be amazing to make. But it is a paper-pieced project, which is kind of frightening to me, but at the same time, I then could use up some scraps. Not that that ever makes a big dent in your pile, but I saw the box. I actually just keep the scraps in a box, a plastic box, that I could just use up chunks and make this table runner. I think it would be amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm not even sure maybe it's quilted, maybe not. Maybe it's so small. So there were a lot, and just look at this. This is just beautiful. So there was more than one quilt in this magazine, and I said, okay, I'm getting this, you know. And who doesn't love fall? Although I decorated our kitchen counter with some fall decor, and G walked in the door and he looked at it and he goes, oh, fall. Yeah, some of us are very excited about fall and pumpkin flavored things. Not G. G is a sun bunny. He wants to be like, I mean, as a little kid, he was running around on the beaches of Hawaii, you know, and it was, yeah. Fall for him is, oh, the next one's winter. Yeah, yeah. So he didn't like my fall decor. But so I just want you to know I am in this quilt room pretty much every day. It's just that I'm not documenting it as much, but I am keeping busy, and I will be keeping you abreast of what's going on with the quilt retreat. Like I said before, I won't be filming down there, but I'll post to Instagram or Facebook, and yeah, so that's where we're at. Don't forget all the trimmings. Trimmings is the word, and it has to be spelled right. Be sure you go to Fat Quarter Shop, and it's a free PDF pattern, both for cross stitch and for quilting, which a mystery, which is always fun. You know, we used to take this particular quilt group that I still belong to, the Fabric Stalkers. Since 1993, we used to take mystery classes all the time. You know, if there was a mystery class at the local quilt shop, we signed up. And I haven't done a mystery in a long time, so I think it'll be fun. So take a gander, and we'll see it in the next Quilt Roadies video. I hope all is going well for you, and that you're enjoying that flavor of fall.